Am I the idiot for not being understanding of my sister's trauma? This happened a few years ago, but I just wanted to get some insight because my family keeps bringing it up. A few years ago, my sister, who was 16 at the time, got into a car accident. She wasn't severely injured, just some cuts and a sprained wrist, but it was obviously very scary for her. She was the one driving and there was nobody else in the car. After that, she developed an intense fear of cars and driving that extended to others as well. She started having to take public transit to school, and every time one of my parents needed to use a car for anything, grocery shopping, appointments, etc., she would start sobbing and begging them not to get in a car because she was scared they would get hurt. Eventually, my parents also stopped driving and would just do everything virtually or get food delivered. They both worked from home, so it wasn't a big deal. At the time, I was a freshman in college, and I really wanted my family to attend my first big theater performance of the year. However, my college is several hours away and it's pretty difficult to get to using public transportation, so my parents were planning to use a car to get there. However, my sister obviously refused to go because of the car fear, which was understandable. But about a week before the performance, my parents informed me that they would no longer be attending the performance either because my sister would scream and cry every time they brought it up. They said there would be other performances, so it didn't matter that they wouldn't go to this one. I was pretty upset because it was my first leading role and they had promised they'd be there to support me. I tried to find ways they could come using public transit, but the logistics were just too difficult, so I eventually just started begging them to use the car to come and that it was really important to me. They got upset with me and said I wasn't being understanding of my sister's trauma, and that I was being selfish. At that point I just gave up, but even now, years later, they still bring it up, and talk about how awful I was to them. So was I really the idiot? Edit. The performance was several months after the accident had happened. OP also gives more info in the comments. All of the clinics under our insurance didn't have any open telehealth options, and my sister obviously refused to go to any in-person therapy. So my parents eventually just decided she should get through it without therapy. She's better now, she can ride in a car without much fuss, but she still doesn't want to drive if she can help it. It's not that they were leaving her by herself that she had an issue with, it's that they were using a car to get there, and she had trauma around cars. She wouldn't go to in-person appointments, we tried. So they just sort of gave up. No OP, you're not the a-hole. But your parents are. Not only with the lack of help with your sister's trauma, she really needed therapy at that moment, but how they let her trauma take over their lives as well. Look, trauma is something serious. It can be triggered from a lot of things, obvious or not, and if left untreated it can dominate the rest of someone's life, and that's already bad enough. But it gets even worse when we end up doing the same to the ones close to us, leaving them hostage to our fears. And that's exactly what your sister did to your parents, and what's worse, they let it happen. Whether it was to appease your sister, or because it was easier for them than to deal with the real problem, I don't know, but they let her fear dictate their lives too. And consequently, you also ended up suffering because of this decision, OP. And I'm sorry they didn't care, or didn't care enough, how this also has affected your life. And if until this day they still bring up this incident, it was something that must have really shocked them. I think they expected you to also accept living hostage to your sister's fears, and when you refused, it surprised them. I wanted to say that they still talk about it due to their guilty conscience, for not being able to be there for you, or not having sought help from your sister sooner, but apparently not. Honestly, I would normally be more sympathetic to your parents, OP. It couldn't have been easy having to deal with your sister's trauma, but since they're being jerks to you until this day, years later, I can't defend them. At this point, if it was me, every time they said I was the a-hole, I would reply by calling them the same, reminding how they were the a-holes to me. It may even be petty, but since they keep bringing it up, that's what I would do. And what do you guys think? What would you do if you were OP? Don't forget to leave your comments down below. Now, let's read the comments. Not the idiot. Her and your parents are tough for letting an irrational fear dominate their and your lives. They need to get her in therapy and stop kowtowing to her demands, or it'll become a more entrenched thing over time. Not the idiot. Sister needs therapy. Not the idiot. This is exactly right. OP, it may help to do some reading about PTSD and have your parents and sister do so too. Specifically, avoidance is a key factor that maintains the mental health impacts of trauma over time. Had your sister gotten therapy after the accident, she likely would have been encouraged to take small steps towards being able to ride in cars. Your family participating in the avoidance for so long likely made it harder to recover. They probably didn't know better. I'm sure everyone was shaken up and doing the best they could. But they should now do some learning. This won't be the last difficult thing that happens, and this isn't a coping style that is likely to help. Not the idiot. And let me say, your sister's reaction is not normal after a minor car accident. It is not understandable that she refuses to get into a car and has screaming/crying fits when anyone else does. Yes, being in an accident is scary, however it should not be debilitating. Your parents should have put her in therapy immediately so she can deal with this instead of giving in to her unreasonable demands. Not the idiot. Your parents are enabling your sister's trauma and stalling her recovery. They allowed it to adversely affect their other child's life, and even altered their own habits to accommodate her. She needed therapy and, I'm assuming, did not get it for her. They were totally in the wrong about this. I'm sorry it's still brought up. Perhaps you should show them this thread. Am I the idiot for being the reason my friend's daughter had to go to the hospital? I know the title sounds horrible, but I don't know how else to put it. I am not a very busy person. I don't start college until September and I don't have a job, so not much to do. A few weeks ago my friend Alice, 22, female, came to my door with her daughter Millie, 3, female, and told me she really needs me. Apparently she had an emergency to attend to and she needed an urgent sitter. She didn't really ask and just gave me the kid and a bag of toys and books and told me she would be back in a few hours. I have no problem with this. Millie is a very sweet kid and she knows me well enough to be comfortable around me. Still, it was a bit unexpected, but I was going out to the cinema, so I thought I would take her with me and we would walk around a bit and watch something. Everything went smoothly. We watched a movie together. Millie seemed happy, and I was enjoying my time as well. Then we went to the park and I thought it would be nice to get us some ice cream. We both had vanilla swirls and she seemed to enjoy it for a bit, but as soon as we got home she started throwing up and developed what seemed to be a rash. I thought maybe she got a bug or something and called her mom, but when she didn't pick up I took her to the hospital. Apparently, Millie has a mild allergy to dairy. Alice did not tell me this. I have never seen Alice give her dairy, but I thought that was a dietary choice, and to be honest, I did not take that much notice to it. I never knew this explicitly. She was safe and nothing bad was going to happen to her, but she was obviously very uncomfortable until the antihistamines kicked it. I kept calling Alice and she only picked up a few hours later, and as soon as I told her we were at the hospital, she got furious. When she came in, she yelled at me, telling me I was trying to kill her baby because I had to take care of her on such short notice, and I was an idiot for not knowing her child would react like this to ice cream. I apologized many times, sent them cards and a present for Millie, but apparently she has been telling our group of friends that I tried to hurt Millie and I should not be trusted around children. Some of our friends berated me for my lack of attention and told me I would have to carry the responsibility if anything worse had happened to Millie. I tried to explain that I didn't know and nothing worse was going to happen, and I did my best to help her, but it still became a divisive event. Am I the idiot? Is it really all my fault? I really want what's best for Millie and I would never do anything to hurt her. In my opinion, Opie is far from being the idiot. She helped a friend in her time of need, treated the child well, and when help was needed, she did the right thing and took the kid to the hospital. The friend already started making the big mistake, not telling Opie that her daughter had this allergy, which we could forgive depending on the rush or emergency she had, but not answering the phone when your child is with someone who has never taken care of her before is a big negligence. And furthermore, accusing the person of purposefully trying to harm the kid. It's insane. I could understand if this was her initial reaction, because of the fear/surprise of her daughter's going to the hospital and later came to apologize. But in addition to continuing thinking this way, she is still spreading this lie to other people? I have no idea if she's a good mother, but she doesn't seem like a good person, let alone a good friend. Not the idiot. It is the responsibility of the allergy sufferer/their guardian to tell you of their allergies. You ain't psychic. Explain the full situation to your friends. She didn't tell me that Millie was allergic to dairy. When we went to get ice cream, and Millie reacted badly, I immediately took her to the hospital. I think this is pretty responsible, actually. I think neglecting to mention an allergy is the least of her problems. There is something deeply insane in the membrane. Accusing Opie of attempted murder? Give me a break. Not the idiot. If your kid has a food allergy, you tell the babysitter she has a food allergy. If it's a milk allergy and not a casein intolerance, which it sounds like it is, that can be fatal. And so not only should she have warned you, but she should have given you an EpiPen and showed you how to use it. She's irresponsible, and this is entirely her fault. Also include that the mom didn't leave Opie with antihistamines or an EpiPen and directions on how and when to use them. This is the first thing parents with kids who have allergies do when leaving their child with someone. Opie is not the idiot at all. Not the idiot. Personally, if I were dropping my kid off to someone, I'd be sure to inform them of any allergies. You didn't know about the allergy, so it's not your fault at all. Most people aren't even observant enough to notice little things like that. What matters is Millie is okay, and you did the right thing by taking her straight to the hospital. Oh, and don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications to know when a new video is out. Now let's go to the next story. Am I the idiot for warning my friend her baby would be treated differently by the father's family because she isn't married to him? My friend, Alyssa, is having a baby with my fiancé's cousin, Daniel. My fiancé's family are old-fashioned, and having children outside of wedlock isn't something the elders are happy about, even in 2023. I've known them my whole life, so I've seen firsthand how children born out of wedlock are treated differently. The only child they've treated the same is my son, and that's because everybody always knew/assumed I would eventually marry my fiancé. So it wasn't as big of a deal to his parents as it would have been otherwise, but even then, there were some issues we had to work through. I warned Alyssa that her baby is most likely going to be treated differently, because she had all of these plans for her daughter's life that relied on the dad's family funding them, which I think won't happen. I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but she accused me of lying and mentioned how my son's grandparents and great-grandmother treated him just as good as the other kids in the family. I told her that was different, and she didn't like my answer when I explained how it was. We've been fighting for the last week, and I'm wondering if I was an a-hole? Well, Opie, I understand where your intention came from, but maybe the way you expressed yourself wasn't good. Unfortunately, you may have given the idea that her child won't be good enough, and of course, no one would be okay hearing that. But after reading the details you put in the comments about the child's paternal family, I understand what you mean. So no, I don't think you are the a-hole, but I think you're going to marry into a family of a-holes, as apparently to them a child is only worth it if their parents are married. So maybe you're not the a-hole, but they definitely are. Are you sure you want to be part of this family? As I mentioned, OP also replies some comments and gives more information. Info: what is your goal with telling her this? And insisting she believe you? Do you think she needs to marry her partner? You had a child, and haven't even married your partner yet. Should she be in more of a rush to marry than you are? Make her partner propose. Do you think she should end the pregnancy? What is she supposed to do to roll back the clock on being pregnant and unmarried? Seriously, what is the point of this conversation? The only thing you really seem to be telling her is that you, like her, had a child without getting married, but you are special and she needs to acknowledge it. I warned her so she doesn't get her hopes up and end up hurt once her baby is born and things aren't how she expects them to be. Daniel is engaged already. He's in an open relationship, so he won't marry her. I don't think she should end the pregnancy, unless she wants to. You are the idiot. Pull your nose in Han, not your business. Info needed. How are you stating these things as facts? What are you basing this on? I've seen it happen before in 3 different cases, including with Daniel's brother. You are the idiot. I was with you until you brought up the fact that they treat your child, born out of wedlock, just fine. And you still aren't actually part of the family because he hasn't married you. Since it's been long enough that you know they treat your child fine, sounds like a really long engagement. Wow. You are the idiot. Except in comments she states her cousin is engaged to someone else and in an open relationship. So baby is, from a traditional point of view, an affair baby. You need to mention in the original post that the baby daddy is in a serious relationship with someone else. That makes a huge difference in how people are judging this post. They are assuming these 2 people are in a relationship. You are right, but stop fighting with your friend. Her knowing beforehand won't really change the reality. Not the idiot, and I think all these you are the idiot votes are misunderstanding your purpose and also the situation at large. I would amend the original post to include that the father of this woman's child is already engaged to someone else. Letting her know that she shouldn't rely on financial support of judgmental people who have a history of othering those in circumstances similar to hers is a perfectly fine thing to do, in my honest opinion, and in some ways probably doing her a favor. Not the idiot, you're trying to warn her based on evidence you have seen in the past. You are doing so not to be spiteful, but out of concern for your friend. Sounds pretty a-hole free to me. Not the idiot, she's making a ton of plans based on the grandparents paying up. You are warning her this is a bad idea as you can't guarantee they're going to be involved because of their historic behavior. You gave her a heads up. If she fails to listen, then that's on her. The grandparents are a-holes too if marriage is what decides how they treat their grandkids. But she's being rude to you for trying to warn her. And what do you guys think? What would you do if you were OP? Even knowing how they are, would you still want to be part of this family? Don't forget to leave your comments down below. So, that's it for today guys. I hope you enjoyed. See you next time.